So when we try to understand people, what's the better way to go? Should we be looking for big universal laws that apply to everyone? Or should we zoom in and try to understand one single person in, incredible detail? This very question, believe it or not, is one of the biggest debates in all of psychology. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, think about it for a second. Are you a total one-of-a-kind original? Or, deep down, are you more like a collection of traits and behaviors that we see over and over again in thousands of other people? Now, that might sound a little philosophical, but trust me, how psychology answers that question literally shapes the entire field.
And that brings us right to our two key terms for today. On one hand, you've got the idiographic approach. This one's all about what makes you, well, you, your unique story. On the other hand, there's the nomothetic approach, which is all about finding those general rules of behavior that apply to pretty much all of us. So yeah, two totally different ways of seeing the world.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll get a handle on the debate itself. Then we're going to dig into the core knowledge. This is your key AO1 stuff, so pay close attention. After that, we'll look at how these approaches actually work out in the real world, which is perfect for those AO2 marks. And to wrap it all up, we'll do a proper evaluation to help you build those killer AO3 arguments. And look, this isn't just some dusty theoretical argument that only academics care about. Oh no. This debate, individual versus the group, it has a huge impact on pretty much every single piece of psychological research out there, from how theories are born to how therapies are designed. All right, let's kick things off with our first contender, making the case for the individual. This is the idiographic approach. And everything we're about to cover is that core knowledge you absolutely need to nail down for AO1.
The word idiographic. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, I know. But it comes from the Greek word idios, which means own or private. And honestly, that's the perfect description. This approach is all about trying to understand one person's unique world. And it does that by using qualitative methods to get super rich, detailed data.
What I think is so cool here is how it all fits together. See, the idiographic approach really cares about your personal, subjective experience. It's not trying to shove you into a neat little box. And how does it do that? By using qualitative methods, things like really deep case studies and one-on-one interviews. So it makes perfect sense that this is the favorite tool for humanistic and psychodynamic approaches, right?
And here's a classic example of this approach in action. You've probably heard of Freud's study of little Hans. Now, Freud wasn't trying to find some universal law about phobias. Not at all. He was taking a super deep dive into the mind of this one little boy. But, and this is a big but, take a look at that grave evaluation point. We're talking about generalization. Can you really take what you learned from one kid in early 1900s Vienna and apply it to everyone? The answer is a pretty clear no, and that's one of the biggest knocks against this approach.
Okay, time to switch gears completely and look at the other side of this debate, the nomothetic approach. This is going to paint a very different picture. And just a heads up, again, this is all that essential core knowledge you'll need for AO1.
So remember how idios meant own or private? Well, nomos is the Greek word for law, and that tells you everything you need to know. The goal here is totally different. It's all about establishing general laws of behavior. To do that, it uses quantitative methods. We're talking numbers, things you can count and measure, to spot patterns across massive groups of people.
So the whole focus just flips, doesn't it? We're no longer looking at what makes us different, we're looking for what makes us the same. The ultimate goal is to be able to predict and maybe even control behavior by finding these universal rules. Think lab experiments, correlations, fancy statistical analysis. It's no wonder this is the absolute bedrock of the biological, behaviorist, and cognitive approach.
A fantastic example of this is Eisensich's work on personality. He did the complete opposite of Freud. He didn't just study one person, he crunched the numbers from questionnaires filled out by thousands of people. And from that, he pulled out these universal personality dimensions like extroversion and neuroticism. Now, look at the big strength here, our grave point, reliability. Because it all uses standardized tests and stats, other scientists can come along, repeat the study, and see if they get the same results. That's a huge plus.
All right, so we've got the definitions down. We know what these two things are. Now let's see how they actually work in the real world. This section is all about application, and it's where you can really start to show off that AO2 understanding. Let's talk about memory research, a topic I'm sure you know inside and out. The nomothetic approach? That gives us those big general theories, like the multi-store model, right? The ones based on lab experiments with tons of people. But then you have the idiographic case study of patient HM, just one guy. And the unique insights from his case completely changed our understanding of how memory works, and it actually helped refine those big theories. See, you really need both. And it's pretty much the same deal when we look at psychopathology. You've got these huge nomothetic studies, like Gottesman's twin studies, that are amazing for identifying general genetic risks for something like schizophrenia. That is absolutely vital for creating treatments. But then it's the idiographic approach, actually sitting down and talking to a person, understanding their unique experience, that lets a therapist build a treatment plan that's personalized and, actually effective for them.
Okay, let's pull all these threads together now for our final section. This is where we get into evaluation. And thinking critically about this stuff is absolutely the key to unlocking those top band AO3 marks. So let's do it. So here's the classic head-to-head comparison. On the nomothetic side, the strengths are obvious, it's scientific, it's replicatable, and it leads to practical applications. The big downside? It can be pretty reductionist. You can kind of lose sight of the whole person when you're just looking at averages. Then you have the idiographic side. Its strengths? Amazing, in-depth, rich data that really focuses on the individual. But its weaknesses? It really struggles with generalized ability, and let's be honest, it can often be seen as unscientific and too subjective.
So, who wins the debate? Well, the truth is, modern psychology would say neither of them. The real answer, the most powerful solution, is what we call an interactionist approach. It's about getting the best of both worlds. You start with a broad nomothetic law, right? Like identifying a general genetic risk for a disorder. And then you apply an idiographic lens, using all that detailed personal info to create a treatment plan that's perfectly tailored to that one individual.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's not about picking a side in a fight. If we ever want to get a complete understanding of why people do what they do, we have to integrate these two perspectives. They aren't enemies in a debate. They're more like two essential sides of the very same coin. So, if there's one crucial point to take away from all this, it's this. A complete psychology desperately needs both. It absolutely needs the scientific rigor of the nomothetic approach to build those big, general principles. But it just as badly needs the depth, the richness, and frankly, the humanity of the idiographic approach to see how those principles actually play out in a real person's complex life.
And that really leaves us with one final question to chew on, doesn't it? Is it even possible to have a complete psychology, a real science of the human mind, if we don't embrace both sides? The search for what's universal in all of us, and the appreciation for what makes every single one of us completely unique.